we're going to dive into the economic and lead generation model of the millionaire real estate agent. As a 95 plus $1 million a year producer who runs a successful real estate business and team, how important, like what kind of role does this model play in your everyday life and your discussions?
It 100% drives my business.
I think if more realtors focused on what can they do to deliver a wow experience in such a way that bring 5 other people in when that client recycles into the funnel, that is the quickest way, right, to grow your business.
And service,
let that
service
go.
is so important. I mean, our two big vision for the next year and what we're going to focus on is service and automation. I have a database of 17,000 people. They say 6 to 7% of those people will probably buy or sell, right? And so we want to really start automating.
Most people are sitting on the production that they need. They're just not mining those relationships to make sure that they're there when they need to be of service. Welcome back. We are here again with Martin Bouma of the Bouma Group Realtors, Keller Williams, Ann Arbor. Martin, how are you today?
I am doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. So today we're going to dive into what I think is the most influential business conversation that I ever have with real estate agents. And I get to have it every year, if not more than that. We're going to dive into the economic and lead generation model of the millionaire real estate agent.
Yeah.
All right. So Martin, the first question I want to ask you is, as a 95 plus $1 million a year producer who runs a successful real estate business and team, how important, like what kind of role does this model play in your everyday life and your discussions?
It 100% drives my business because every part of the way, it lets me talk about how realistic I am about what my goals are, right? And so just to share with you, my goal for next year is 109 million, which is 3 million GCI. And so what I've done is I've figured it out to where I want a profit of $1 million. And I know what my expenses are, what my cost of goods are, whatever. And I now have to work backwards. So, it's really easy to say, I want to make this, but how are you going to get there? I always tell people, you have to have a plan, right? So I know on my team, 45% of the business comes from the listing side, 55% comes from the buyer side. And so what I do, I start plugging in. So let's say you want to do $500,000 GCI or whatever. You figure out what your average commission has been for the last year.
Let's pause there too, because so many people ask me this question and it always shocks me. What is GCI, right? So GCI is gross commission income. So when Martin is saying $500,000 in GCI, he's talking about, in a perfect world, if you charged 3% on the volume that you do every year, that number is your GCI. It's before your broker gets their hands on it, before it goes anywhere else. That's your GCI. Okay, go ahead.
And so our commission, my average commission per transaction is $10,300. It's probably a little bit higher, but I'm just being conservative. And so when I divide that into 3 million, that's 291 units, okay? And so what you do, you start breaking it down, and it actually becomes pretty simple. So just to take it down the listing side, 45%. So in order to do that on the listing side, we need 131 closed listings for the year, which is an average of 11 closed listings per month. Then I break that down. That means about 80% of the listings that we take will sell. And so that means we have to have 164 listings taken, okay, which is 13.6 per month. Our conversion ratio is about 70% from listing appointments to listings taken, which means we now have to go on 234 listing appointments per year, 19.5 per month. That's the number that I focus on, okay? So I know that every single month, I have to go on average on 20 listing appointments per month. And now what I've also done, I've calculated out over the year how many based on percentage of business done each month, right? So I don't say I need to do 20 appointments in January because typically we don't do that much of the business in January, right? I always figure my numbers on 15% of the business gets done in the first quarter, 20% gets done in the fourth quarter, and then the second and third are about 32%, 33% on average. Okay, so I calculate that out for the year based on the percentage for that month.
Okay, so a few really key points that I just want to point out to folks here, right? We started with the amount of money we want to net, okay? And this is a really important concept for everyone to understand. This is where it starts. When you're an agent, well, let's say you're coming into real estate from another industry and you're leaving a salary position. you know what you need to make and what
Right.
you want to make in order to make ends meet and be able to stay in the industry. Same thing with, you get married or you have a baby and, expenses increase. You should know what you need to make and what you want to make. And that's where we start. And then we reverse engineer it backwards.
Yeah. Now,
And
to go a step further, I start with profit first. Gary's way says, what do I want to profit this year? And so I built the model around that, right? And so I've done my whole budget and the structural model and everything. So if we follow this plan, that's what my profit will be next year.
Now, what profit, just to ask you, what profit margin are you using? Because I know when you kind of go default, you start with 40%, but it's different when you get into big businesses.
When you get into a big team, this will be about 33, 34%. Which
Okay.
I'll tell you what, because I have a lot of friends in the business, and I know with the big teams, there's a lot of puffery going on. When you start getting with a big team, much over 25, 30%, you're doing a really good job. I mean, there are some people that have, really high, when you're dealing with an average sale price of 1.5 million, whatever, of course, it's much easier to accomplish that. But so mine will be about 32, 33%.
So that's why we were looking at a total GCI of 3 million. 33% of that would be your net $1 million, which, by the way, when you hit that milestone, I want to be the first one there with a bottle of champagne. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Okay. The other thing I want to point out that is involved in all of this are the conversion rates, right? And you mentioned that. So you need to know your own conversion rates, but you can also use industry defaults if you're new to the industry by looking at board data, I would guess would be the best, indicator. So how many listings need to be taken in order to close that listing? How many appointments do you need to go on in order to sign so many listings? So those are called conversion rates, and they're the step in between, they're the variables in between the numbers you get.
And those are the numbers you have to really, I know what mine are, right? Just from years of experience. And I'm always a little bit on the conservative side. Like, for instance, 80% of our listings, there were times when in the last couple of years, it was like 95% of listings sold, right? And we'll probably be higher than 80%. But again, I'm hedging just a little bit just to be comfortable. Conversion ratio from listings to appointments taken. And that this year it's been a little bit lower. It's been about 65%, but because we have a lot of sellers that want to move, but they can't find something. So we've had extenuating circumstances that really don't have anything to do with our presentation or whatever, but it's based on circumstances, right? So we go on the appointments or the sellers are overly exuberant about their price, and we're not losing them to other agents, but they're not listing. So that number I pushed up a little bit to 70%, which is where we normally are, even though this past year it was more like around 65% because of the situation.
What I love about what you just said is that you guys even make a distinction between listings that you didn't get that went to another agent and listings that you didn't get, but they never listed with another agent. Because there is a big difference, right? And the one thing that I always like to bring people back to is if your conversion rate is lower in terms of the appointments you're going on and how many of those people sign with you, the remedy typically is script practice and role play, right? Like that's how you increase your conversion rate. But there is a difference between, if they just don't list at all, then perhaps it's not a script practice issue.
Right. No, it comes a follow-up issue, right? Because those people go onto my warm list. And so I have this huge list of people that I'm staying in touch with. And I'm doing, not just email, but I'm calling, hey, just checking in to see how things are going. I want, this house just sold in your neighborhood and blah, blah, blah. Because one of the things that did happen, because sellers are saying, oh, it's a seller's market, it's a seller's market price. So we do get a lot of clients, or not a lot, but we have people say, hey, the market's really hot right now, and they're very unrealistic about their price, right? And so, but no, we definitely distinguish between the two because I don't feel that I've lost a listing if they don't do something, right?
Mm-hmm. Especially if you nailed your presentation, you've nailed your follow-up, you didn't let it slip through. All right, so I've got a question for you because I think it's a lot easier to conceptualize this idea. And there are two end results with the economic model and the lead gen model. The economic model is going to tell you how many units you need to sell, right? Which is what we just nailed down with you. Yeah. Then you can look at how many are on the buy and the sell side. The lead generation model takes the number of units you need to sell and figures out how many people you need to convert from your database, the people you know, and if you have enough people even to hit your number, and if you don't, how many do you need to meet and add and stay in relationship with?
And that's where we have the structural model, right? And that's how my team is laid out. So I'm looking at, I have to do 291 units, and do I have the people on board for that, right? And so I have 3 buyers agents on board right now. One of them wants to do 60 units next year. One wants to do 50. The other one wants to do 36. So on the buyer side, we need 24 more units. And
Mm.
I'm very confident the people who said 1650 will definitely, and even when you said 36, will hit those numbers because those numbers were almost hit by them this year. So we need one more buyer's agent, right? I got to find that person soon because we need another 24 units.
Yeah. And I love what you said there is that they set their goal. They told you what they wanted to do. You audited that for realistic, you have to make sure it's a realistic goal. And you realized there's a gap. And instead of turning around to your agents and saying, hey, y'all need to pick up 8 more units each, you realized, oh, I need to bring on and build up another buyer's agent. So you're setting a collective goal. You're each setting individual goals. And then you feel that identifies for you when you didn't need to bring in more talent.
Correct. Yeah, because and that's the one thing, I think a lot of people make, they put pressure on, hey, I need you to do this, I need you to do that. And I've learned you can do that all day long, but if it's not their goal, it doesn't matter, right? Because we'll have some people that say, well, okay, I want to do 36. I said, so what are you going to do if you don't hit that? I said, well, I'm fine with 24. That means they're really ready to, they want to do 24 because they'd be content with that, right? And you simply can't have that. And so,
I
and
love
I tell
that. Was that Mary Jo?
them, so yeah.
Hi, Mary Jo.
Put you back in the conference room. So that's why it's really important. And we tell them, listen, we are building our model and budgeting our expenses and everything based on you guys doing that, right? So be honest with your number. And we're holding you accountable to that. We have your permission to hold you accountable to hitting that number, right?
Because the team is reliant on them actually
Oh,
hitting.
absolutely. Yeah.
Your profit is reliant on that, right?
Completely.
Yeah.
So that's where, that's how I use the structural model, make sure that you're realistic there, right? We realize very much we are short one buyer's agent. And also on the listing side, we need 164 listings, which that's about 80 a piece. And Mary Jo and I both do listings. So I don't want to get full-time until I want to be able to work on the business a lot more than doing listings. So we're also realizing we can do that, the two of us together, but my business will not grow as much if I stay in listings that heavily, right? So that we're also realizing that we need to add another listing specialist next year, hopefully in the beginning of the year sometime. And so that's where I know that my economic model, we got to figure out the structural model. We know where we have to go, right? And it's very clear. And then the lead generation model is, do we have the leads necessary to generate that, right? And so what I've done, I know exactly how many leads it takes. Keep in mind, we get 65% of our business from people that know us, past clients, referrals from past clients, referrals from realtors, vendors, other realtors in the community, even if they have difficult sellers or they haven't been able to sell their house. You'd be surprised. We get probably about 10, 12 listings a year that way. And so I've laid it all out this year. I said, hey, last year, these leads got us this. Now, what are we going to do? So I looked at each category one by one. I said, listen, you know what? We can tweak this 5%. We can tweak, because we got to get, we're going from 95 million to 109 million. So we're increasing it by about 15%. I think it's about 15%. Yeah. And so I looked at all those lead sources and what can we do to increase them 15%? And it's amazing. One of my coaches told me a long time ago, if you want to grow your business by 20, 25%, we're all looking for this great big thing that's going to do that, right? But he says, it's a lot easier just to tweak, hey, 5% here. If I look just even on the referral side, right? If we communicated much better with our clients, that the fact we can refer them, their friends or family anywhere in the country, and if we communicated very well with the agents who refer us business, so we get a really good reputation for that, we could easily tweak that 10% or, what I mean? So that's what we did.
Yeah, I think if more realtors focused on what can they do to deliver a wow experience in such a way that bring 5 other people in when that client recycles into the funnel, that is the quickest way, right, to grow your business. And
service, service is so important. I mean, our two big vision for the next year and what we're going to focus on is service and automation, right? And there's so many things that we do so backwards, right? And we want to start automating a lot of things. I have a database of 17,000 people. And granted, some of them are people we've never met, but the bottom line is they say 6 to 7% of those people will probably buy or sell, right? And so we want to really start automating, especially through Command now. We're slowly integrating Command and setting up, not action, what do they call them? Not action plans, but there's another word.
They're called smart plans.
Smart plans, that's right. And so that's how we work. So I worked out the lead generation system, and that's in place to support where we want to go.
Yeah, and I just looked at your 17,000. Even if you captured 5%, you would well exceed all of your goals. So
right.
That's really what I've been trying to help people understand is if we look at the number of people that you have information on, you've got their name and you've got a piece of contact info.
Right.
Most people are sitting on the production that they need. They're just
Right.
not mining those relationships to make sure that they're there when they need to be of service.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much. You know, you all got to hear Ruby in the background today. Thanks so much, Martin, for tuning in and, you know, helping us understand the importance of these models. Anything else that you want to say to folks about the importance of these models?
No, it's my guiding light, right? You know, one thing I always tell people, the best way to, it's just like my goal, my guiding light. So it's like I'm at a room and this thing is on the far end of that room, right? And my goal is on the other end. And you know, a lot of times if the room gets smoky, we don't know how to get to where we're going. But this is the thing that just keeps me focused. It's the rope that gets me to my goal, right? And if we don't have this, we're going to start drifting all over the place. And so that's sort of how I explain it. It's the one thing that I just focus on, no matter what's going on, a good day, bad day. Say, Martin, 234 listing appointments this year. What do I have to do today to get there? So really, it gives you the focus you need.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it helps you front load your day too. Like I went into
Oh,
today saying today will be successful if I book 3 appointments.
yeah,
That would be a successful day to me. If I don't do that, it's not a successful day. And I'll have a harder tomorrow.
that's right. So
So,
that's
all
a
right.
lot.
Well, thank you so much, Martin. Martin Bouma of the Bouma Group Realtors. My name is Danielle Hayden. I'm team leader of Keller Williams Ann Arbor, and we'll catch you next week.
It sounds good. Hey, bye-bye.
Bye.